Oh,
Yeah.
so she's
The
kind
bossier boss.
of running the show.
She's fun.
Yeah.
Our children grew up
Are you here
together
tomorrow?
in sports, and so
Oh,
we gained
scared me.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna record to the computer.
Anyway.
Or you want to- Everything is just hit
Dan,
end.
the music teacher, gave him his.
So I have
trumpet,
two
which is a little
Zoom
trumpet
interviews
like
of
this.
new
This young man used to
police
play
officers.
trumpet and plays
They're from
beautiful.
out of state.
And
What's the best way to do that? Just send them the link.
gift
'Cause we use the
was
same
just
link
beautiful and
for everything, right?
needed for that
And
young
then
man, 'cause he only had
maybe
4 months
show me how to
since he was
Hook them up. It's Thursday morning. I'll come see you tomorrow. Are you?
Sure.
Okay, then you can show me.
And then I still have. let me see that.
Hi, Chelsea. Sit in.
She doesn't get to go to enough meetings. You have, are you going to?
I don't think so. Maybe I should.
Yeah. He's in charge.
No, I'm really not. Well, we're short, so we have a quorum. Do you guys, one of you guys want to fill in to be the,
You want to do Rochambeau?
No, Ruth is going to do it because she has experience.
May I
And
have a
I
copy
do
of the
not.
agenda?
I thought I gave you one, no?
I think you gave her the meeting, the minutes.
I gave you the agenda.
Thank you.
I've got both. I've
You got both.
printed it out.
Short agenda.
Okay. Are we ready? Are we live?
We're ready. We're live.
Is it fine?
It's time. It's 1 minute late.
Oh my God.
Or-
All
What's your
right, I'd
time?
like to welcome all of our audience and welcome Katie especially to the June 13th, 2023 meeting of the Philomath Police Committee. And let's see. We have in attendance myself, Ruth Causey, Diane Crocker, Ken Rubin, our police chief, and Katie
Miller.
Miller, our new administrative assistant. So with that, the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes, which I'm sure we've all read in the last 90 seconds. So let's see, are there any? Yes.
I just moved to approve the minutes.
You. Okay, I will second that. Any discussion, corrections? I don't see any issues, but I'll call you later.
Okay.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented? Aye.
Can I make a
Okay.
notation here?
You may.
You're gonna do these minutes from now on. The person you're gonna get a call from is her.
Okay.
So if you make an error, like one word out of place, a comma, just want to forewarn you,
Here, from you.
it's her. It's
Okay.
all her.
Very nice, but she's a technical writer.
Yes.
so, yeah.
Totally get it.
It's, you only have to do it once or twice until you figure out what she wants.
Okay. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken to go through our agenda. I do have one additional item that I'm going to ask you about at the end.
Okay, you want to put it on officially? Or do you want to wait?
Oh, sure. One of my constituents asked me about drones and what you could do about drones if someone's drone is, hovering around you
Yes.
unwanted.
Okay, sure.
And we did discuss it briefly with council last night, and Councilor Lehman had some very enlightening input, but we can discuss that later.
Okay, sounds good. Be glad to. Can I ask that we could put the Katie Miller to the beginning, the intro,
Oh,
so I
of
can,
course.
because we don't mess around. She's working her butt off over there. We need
Yeah.
to get her back. And Shelley's here today. So I want to formally introduce Katie. We had, like I told you guys, 14 candidates for the job. Several of them, we interviewed 5. All amazing. I mean, there was a great, we could have, not to diminish Katie here, but we could have, all 5 of them were excellent. Katie was just that much better. And we actually had people from our state LEDs, which is our law enforcement data system. We had a supervisor even put in, and Katie beat her out. But Katie comes from Washington. Her husband just got hired recently as an Oregon State Trooper, and he was a Washington State Patrol officer up in Washington. She has worked at the Lacey Police Department and South Sound 911. So the reason she was that much better is she had this great combination of handling people on the phone during emergencies, which we get some of that. She's already had a couple nice fun ones that she's had to deal with since she's been here, which is a really hard part of that job, to find somebody that can do it. Because a lot of people don't want the tension and the stress of dealing with angry people on the phone, or people that are under duress or need a medical assistance. And that takes a different type of a person that can handle that. And then she also comes with a lot of front desk, working with the public experience and records management experience. So she had the trifecta that we were looking for. And her personality, people loved her up there. It was like everybody we asked, hey, we'd hire her back in a minute. We were sorry to lose her. It was a really, good thing for us to go up. We actually went to her agency and looked at her personnel records and talked to all of her people there. And it was a good hire. Immediately, we realized it was a good hire. So she's fit right in. I won't say online because Shelly could probably watching us live right now, trying to figure out if she is. I don't want to say anything, but when we figure out when Shelly's last day is, we'll let everybody know. We'll have a city function for her, probably sometime. It sounds like the first week of August-ish is where we're aiming.
Mhm.
So, of course, you guys know Shelly's been an amazing employee. It's a very difficult person to replace. But I'm confident Katie fits right in. She gets along with everybody. She takes a lot of crap from us already. She knows how to dish it out. She's
Good.
right. Look, she fit in immediately. And it's you guys know that an office environment like that with stuff going on all the time and reports and the phone ringing, it's a different environment than your typical office. So I think she's going to be an amazing addition to the group. So
That sounds wonderful.
please
Welcome.
reach out if you need anything from us.
Yeah.
And she's our point person. And we've got our official photographs on the wall now in order of power in the office. So it's Shelly, then her, then me. That's how it works. So she officially knows that. But if you have, this is the time to quiz her. If you have any questions on the record.
My third round interview.
Yeah, this is officially third round.
We're just happy that you're here, and you seem absolutely perfect and great experience you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, no, I think it's fit in nicely, and it's nice because me and my husband were originally from Junction City, and so we were in Washington for the last 10 years because
Perfect.
he was in the Army and then went state patrol. And so we kind of built our life there, got my experience of all the craziness that Washington had to offer. And it's kind of nice to come down back to like a small town. My agency before for Lacey Police Department, we handled like 50, 60,000 residents. And
Yes, I've been to Lacey.
yeah, and then our dispatch center, it's like 1 million people. It's all Pierce County, like 18 agencies that we're dispatching police for. So kind of a little less crazy, but its own crazy. Also kind of crazy. That's really fun to kind of get that new.
And Junction City gives you a good foundation to understand what this is more like. That's great.
Yeah.
I have a daughter-in-law that's a 911 operator in Salem, and
Oh,
so I
nice.
do understand how hard that is.
Yeah.
The stress and
Mhm.
my goodness. That's great.
All right, get back to work.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for coming to Paloma.
Thank you.
It actually is a very nice place to be.
No, she'll
Yeah.
fits right in. I asked her today, are you going to be able to work at the chili cook-off? That's all that matters. So as long as she shows up on that day, we're good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Be back in a little bit. Okay. Let me check off. Wait till she goes. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Shelly is she's really good on the phone,
Yeah.
but she is amazing. I
She
mean,
has the
she
experience,
is.
yeah.
I mean, she's immediately like asking the right questions at the right time. When people are calling about a crime or, and do you need medical assistance? She has all that whole background. And Shelly had to learn it over time and, basically, craft it into her own personality and how she talks to people. And people, she's had a couple good ones already. People just really angry on the phone, and so it's been good.
Hold the
Yeah, it's like,
receiver away.
well, we had this thing at you guys hear what happened at the school, the high school, the
Oh,
prank.
there was a
Yes,
prank.
yes.
Yeah, but they're, parents, the rumor mill starts,
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
and it's like, oh, all of our kids' records were destroyed and all these different, which
Oh.
never did happen. It didn't, but
No.
people thought. And it's like, this should be an FBI. Why are you guys handling it? So then Dave was able to talk to some people on the phone, and
My goodness.
People just- it worked out. All right, so let me talk about what's on the agenda. More for you, Diane, than Ruth. Ruth's kind of, we've talked about these things before, but I wanted to tell you what we're doing. So every year, because we don't have a full-time evidence tech, I am the evidence tech. So typically when you have evidence at a police department, there's statutory requirements on how long you can keep it. And it varies. There's all different categories based on the type of crime the person's been arrested for, how we came into contact with how we seized the property. It could be found property, it could be property we've taken from somebody during an arrest. It could be their personal property that we've taken during arrest, not evidence. So there's all these different categories but based on the type of crime, everywhere from, let's say, shoplifting all the way up to a murder, you're required to keep evidence longer based on that. And on top of that, if the case has been adjudicated, the district attorney's office weighs in on if there's potential for appeals. So then we're required to keep evidence even longer, depending on what's going on. So what we do is, if you have a full-time evidence clerk, every month they're going through, and they have everything's in the computer by date and time. So you're looking at the last month's worth of evidence and looking to see what time frames we call it destruction time frames that those pieces of evidence have. So you set those when you take the evidence in. So let's say we arrest somebody for a drug offense, a felony drug offense, which is rare now. And they have, let's say they've got for felony crimes, the lowest amount is typically 4 years. You got to keep the evidence. Okay. So 4 years ago from today, June 13th of 2019, that evidence that we seized that day would pop up in our computer as ready to be destroyed today. Okay. So if you have a full-time evidence clerk, they would see this list of, let's say, the last month or two and say, okay, this group of 50 different items needs to be destroyed because we seized it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Or if we took a gun, it would be maybe 6 years ago. But the point is, you got these deadlines that are coming up that pop up in the computer based on the date and the type of crime it was, tells us when we need to destroy things. Well, we can't do that. We do ours yearly because we don't have a full, which is legal. We just don't have a full, I am the person. So for me to do it, I get this list of everything that is prior to minimum of 3 years back from today. So this is, June of 2020 back. And then we look at all the evidence that needs to be destroyed, plus evidence that the district attorney's office has said, hold on, let's wait for whatever reason. Or they've said, no, let's not destroy it. Let's wait a couple of years because it might be appealed. So we have this group of evidence. This year, it's about 3,500 items, separate pieces of evidence. So because this is my last year, I'm also going to make an attempt to consolidate the way we're storing the evidence. We have our evidence room here next door, which is a small evidence room, but then we have a Connex trailer out at Public Works that is full. I mean, right now we can't get much more in there. It's completely stock full. But after this round, we'll probably get a third of it out, maybe half if we're lucky. Because the years that are coming up, the 2018, 19, and 20, those years in there were really, really, really busy years for us, just doing search warrants and seizing property and seizing evidence. So we're just starting that right now. So and what complicates the matter for me, just so you guys hear the whole picture, in 2019, we switched over to that consortium of our report writing systems.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, we went from a system that was called Justice, which I think 70 or 80 police agencies in Oregon use, to this, I'll use the word complicated because it is, because I think there's 12 or 14 agencies that are attached in the valley here that use this new system called Central Square. it has an evidence component in it. So in May of 2019, we stopped using Justice and we started using Central Square. So from that point forward, so the last about 4 years, we've got 4 years of evidence in there. And I think there's about 7,000 pieces of evidence booked into that system. But then everything prior to that, which is like 9,000 pieces of evidence and stuff that we have to keep forever for rape cases and sex crimes, we have to keep between 6 and 15 years, depending on what kind of, so we have this archived evidence that's out there. So what I'm going to try to do is what makes it more complicated. I have to actually get the list from both of the computer systems of what stuff needs to be destroyed and go and send both of those lists to the district attorney's office for their, I'll keep it or destroy it kind of a list. So that takes about 2 months to get that back from them. So they've got the list. I know stuff for a fact that we already have to destroy because we also have a third system that keeps all of our body cam data. And that's called evidence.com. That system technically destroys itself. That we set parameters by crime. So let's say Diane goes out, she's got a body camera on, and she arrests a drunk driver tonight. When you put the body cam into the cradle, it takes the date and time, all the videos that you've made from the previous 12-hour shift, and it categorizes them. Then the officer has to go in and look at specific videos that he made from that night. And if everything that we put in there is kept automatically for 180 days. Then at the end of 180 days, poof, it goes away. We're not allowed to keep it unless it fits into any of the categories I talked about. If we made an arrest, if we wrote the person a ticket, took any police action other than just a mere contact, the officer has to go in and say traffic stop or arrest for misdemeanor crime, arrest for DUI, arrest for sex abuse 1, or took a report on rape 1. And they actually pick a category, then it automatically sets a retention date based on that crime that's already been pre-programmed in the computer. So let's say it's a rape, just a police report on a rape, no arrest or anything. It goes in and that's stored in there for 6 years and it just stays.
Now, if you've got your body cam on your entire shift,
It doesn't work like that.
it doesn't work.
No, you turn it on and off.
Oh, you do.
The system can't handle. It would cost us $250,000 a year to store the data. No agency keeps it 24 hours. As a matter of fact, by state law, it's not recommended that you do. It's police contacts only. Otherwise, you'd be going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You'd be having private conversations. You'd be talking. We don't have any kind of strategy talks. Like if we're gonna do a search warrant or we're talking about how we're gonna arrest somebody, that's all private information that we don't want people to learn about on body cam data.
So does an officer automatically turn it on?
It becomes like a habit. Yeah. So if you look at the camera, ours is Taser is the brand. Axon is who owns Taser. So ours, the whole front of it has got this big button. It's hard to tell by looking at it. The camera is only about this big. The rest of that device is the storage, the communication program, and the on-off button. So if you watch, it's funny to watch the guys. I couldn't do it because I just haven't done it my whole career. It's just not habit. But all these new cops, they know that every time they get out of the car, they just go like that. And so you watch them all the time. They're just hitting this button. And it's funny because you make a traffic stop, it's one more thing to do. So like if I'm going to stop you, I put the lights on, right? That's switch A. You're watching them, you get the radio, you tell dispatch, so you're driving, telling, you've been on right long, dispatch, hello, we're stopping this car. Okay, here's the license plate. If it's at night, you're shining a spotlight, you're driving the car, trying to figure out where they're going to stop. You open the door, and when the guys open the door, they hit the button.
Okay. Cool.
And pretty rare, I can't remember the last 3 or 4 years that somebody's forgot. It could become such a habit.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, actually. It's like, hey, your camera's still on. Because something happens and they get so busy,
Oh,
they want to turn it off or forget, or hit the button, don't hit it right and it doesn't shut off. They come in the office, the little light's on. It's like, hey, your camera's on. Don't go to the bathroom right now. But the thing, that's how it works. Otherwise, on the average night, I'd say most officers at night probably make 25 or 30 recordings on traffic stops and when they go to calls. So when they come back in, it actually makes a separate video file for each one of those.
Yeah. Okay.
And
that
then
makes-
some are saved, some are not. Just depends on what each one of them was. So,
Can you tell me, you have to destroy all this evidence? And-
Yes.
And some of it is probably pretty straightforward,
Mhm.
papers to shred or whatever,
Right.
but how do you destroy?
yeah, we actually don't. We actually take it all to one spot. If you drive north on I-5, just north of Salem, there's a little town, Brooks.
Mhm.
And if you look off to the right, there's a gigantic factory looking thing with a huge pipe. That's the garbage incinerator for Marion. And I think a couple other counties use that to burn trash. And they do it with this technology where there's really no smoke. It's like it's cleaned. They spray water so the smoke gets hit by the water. Then they take the water and they use it for fertilizer and stuff.
Mhm.
But we take the evidence up there. Last year, we were just looking at the records. There's 31 boxes and they're 24 by 24, but they're big boxes. 31 boxes that we destroyed last year.
Wow.
And that includes, well, it doesn't include, we also have that drug take back box that's in there. About 8 to 10 boxes full of drugs that people have brought back and turned in, medications.
Yeah.
Yeah, prescription medication, that also gets burned. So what happens is we take it, it's funny to watch it. You put it on a conveyor belt and it goes up and they have this gigantic crucible. I mean, it's probably this big around the wall. And it's like molten lava. And these boxes, when you watch them, they drop off on this thing but they get about 10 feet down. I think it's 2,600 to 2,800 degrees. It just gone. It's so hot, the thing just catches on fire and gets to ash in about 2 seconds. It's weird to watch it because they fall in.
What about something like, I know you've had vehicles that you
Mhm.
impound
Yeah.
as evidence. What happens to those?
Vehicles, very rarely do we have them long enough to have to, you can't sell them anymore like we used to, like a seized vehicle. But they end up going to the bad guy's family or they get donated. We haven't done one in probably 7 years, 6, 7 years. It's been a long time. Usually the feds, if we've got them for longer than a month or two, usually the feds are involved somehow in like a big drug seizure or something. And we're trying to, right now at our other outdoor vehicle storage, we have 6 cars there and they're all from the big gigantic marijuana grow case out here. And then another marijuana grow case the county did down in Cheshire. So we have 6 vehicles from those and those are being seized federally. The feds will take them, sell them, and then the feds distribute them. We don't get very much money from it. But very rare do we have them pass, like a DUI vehicle that we'll take. The family will get it back eventually, or they'll come and get it. So
You probably know all this, Diane.
No. Do you have help carrying all that stuff, or is that you guys have to carry it and put it on the belt, or are there workers up there?
no, it's us. They can't touch it. As a matter of fact,
Oh my
well, we have to
gosh.
fill out this whole contract, photograph it all so that we can't get accused of stealing all the evidence. We package it here at the office. It gets sealed. We take photographs of it all. We drive it up. And then when we put it on the thing, the guys, they don't want anything to do with it,
No.
the company. So we videotape the stuff going up. And all the boxes are numbered. And then it just gets destroyed. Then we get an invoice and a kind of a manifest that shows how many boxes and the numbers on the boxes and all that stuff.
What does it cost to
It's
destroy
not as much as you think, like $190 or $200.
a box?
No, all of it.
Really?
Mhm. It's not that expensive.
Because you're doing them.
We're doing all the labor.
the
I mean,
labor, yeah.
it's the labor is the build up to it and you getting all the evidence out.
Yeah.
But I hope that, should probably watch it now, but I'm hoping that by the end of the year, let's say this. I'll tell you after the meeting, remind me, I'll tell you, because Katie has, I think somebody needs to do it for when I leave. No,
Oh,
I'm gonna be gone. And the training is a 40-hour class just to be able to do it. And it has to be, every agency around here has got a full-time evidence tech. But here, we don't need a full-time, we need somebody that could do it maybe once a week. And I'm hoping that she can do it.
Great.
So
yeah.
I know she can do it, but
Wow.
I'll talk about it maybe later. So anyway, we just started the process. The DA's office has the 2, I'm hoping they'll start giving me, so what I do is when I get the list back, I build a spreadsheet, and then I basically go out to every day. I'll usually go 2 or 3 hours a day for about 3 weeks. It's usually in the summer, like this time of the year. And I just start going through the bins that are all barcoded and taking the stuff that's in the bin. And if it's been released to be destroyed, I put it in a box. This is the thing that most agencies do. They screw up. This is where it happens. Because if you don't do a good job with the paperwork and keeping track, I mean, if you just take one item and put it in to be destroyed, and it's not supposed to be in there, you may not know right then, but you'll know like 2 years when somebody says, "Oh, we're going to trial on this Dewey. Where is this?" It is like the most stressful.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll be going along and I'm checking off the evidence numbers as I'm taking them out of the bin, and then I get a phone call or something. I get distracted. It's like, uh-oh, did I put number 17 in there? And then I have to go look. Okay, 17's in there. Because it's one of those things. What I've done these audits for other police agencies, that evidence rooms are what gets chiefs fired. So I'm dead serious. That's what you miss some evidence, or you misplace some evidence, or you don't do a good job of counting, making sure that your evidence is secure. That's how you lose cases in court. That's how you get a reputation for being sloppy, all those things. So it's really important. But
What are the locking it up and stuff?
yeah, OSP has that's part of our accreditation process, that they come and do reviews. And we also have to have, the security that we have at our office is what we actually way over the top. So you have to have a cipher lock on the door, which is, I don't have one here with me. It's an electronic key that basically every time it gets put in the lock, it says who put the key in. So we have the indoor storage. We also it has to be alarmed. You have to have 2 what they call hard doors between the door of the evidence room and the outside world. We have 3. So these are things that when you have an audit done by our accreditation group, they come and look at that. So it's Oregon State Police recommended level of security for everything. And then everything else, there's all different categories. So like flammable liquids and stuff have to be stored outside. Vehicles have to be stored in a secure place. They all have to have cameras, alarmed, all that stuff. So both of our places where we have cars and our long-term storage have both cameras and alarms that go off all the time, and then we have to go look at them, make sure nobody's breaking in, that kind of stuff.
And
So-
fireproof, everything. Fireproof.
That's the one thing that's not. Although we do keep all the drugs, money, and weapons in fireproof safes. So because those are the big 3 that you don't want lost. So then at the end of this whole thing, after I destroyed everything, I write this gigantic report to Chris that basically says, on this date, between these dates, we did this full review. The district attorney's office signed off on this. We packaged up X amount of boxes, we destroyed it, and here's the items that we destroyed. And there's actually an itemized list of every single thing. So he's supposed to keep a copy, and I keep a copy next door. And if you come to the evidence room, one whole shelf is all these 4-inch 3-ring binders of all the evidence paperwork that we have. And then every year the destruction, what we reviewed, what the DA's office said to keep, what the DA's office said to destroy, and then our list of things that we destroyed.
You still have paper copies now that everything's electronic or digital?
OSP still recommends that you keep it. So I just did evidence today. So when an officer books a piece of evidence in, let's say a little bag of drugs, he has to enter it in the computer. Our system creates what they call a voucher. And it actually prints up the case number, the officer, the kind of the facts of the case, the address where the seizure happened, and it prints it, and then it prints a barcode sticker that the officer puts on the evidence, and then he puts it in a temporary locker. And the evidence clerk, me, I get that. I go into the computer and I transfer it into a storage. I assign it a bin that has a barcode on it. So let's say it's bin 2023-1. I put it in the bin and I tell the computer it's now in bin and it's barcoded. I hit it with the barcode. So now I could go look at that bin.
You can actually find it.
Yeah, find the bin, and I could click on the barcode on the bin, and it'll say I've got 103 items in the bin, and here's a list of them. And so that's how I make the list when I do the destruction. I'm looking for certain items. I itemize them by the bin, and then I go to each bin and pull the stuff out. So
Wow.
yeah, well, we actually have a hand copy of the officer's little voucher and the evidence room voucher. They go together. One says the officer stuff, one says the evidence room's it has the information and the barcode on it, and they go together in a big folder. So we can, if we lose because it's so, everybody's so worried that let's say the computer system crashes and we don't know what any of evidence is. And so I am so freaking paranoid over all the years I've been doing this. I make electronic copies of the copies of the copies. So I have the system, but I do a full inventory report of everything on hand every year, and I make a copy of it. And then after the destruction, I make another copy. And I actually have those electronically. So
Yeah.
if it ever breaks or something, we at least have a spreadsheet with all the stuff on it, which that's how I do it.
Well,
It's
well,
not,
it's obviously worked.
yeah, it's worked so far. When I leave and you're missing all the stuff, then you can come back and ask me. So that's what's going on. We're doing that evidence audit right now, and you'll hear more about it as we get closer, as when we go to destroy evidence, and I can tell you all the facts and figures about that. So any other questions on that?
Just out of curiosity, because you mentioned that you keep guns, cash, and drugs locked up.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a lot of those
Yeah.
over there at any given?
I think we got 150, 160 guns right now. So what we do when this destruction comes, we take the guns that we're going to destroy and we trade them for ammo
Oh,
to save the city a ton of
Yeah,
money,
I
ton of
know.
money.
I think you told me that.
Yeah, I've told you this before. Some agencies destroy them. There's pros and cons. It doesn't, in the big picture, it's not that many. But last time we did this 2 years, we did the guns 2 years ago. We got about $2,500 worth of ammo in exchange.
And I assume with cash, you can't go and deposit it somewhere. You've got to.
Now, the cash is in a safe. If it's forfeited, like we're taking it as like a drug, because it's actual evidence, it's proceeds of a crime. That's the buzzword. So if it's evidence, that's one thing. But if we know that the person, that's the money that they got from committing a crime, okay, it's proceeds, we can seize it and make it city property. If we're going through that process, we haven't had one of those in 2 or 3 years. We have to put that in an interest-bearing bank account at Citizens Bank. We have a separate seizure forfeiture account at Citizens Bank. We'll put that in there. Right now, I don't know how much money is in the safe, probably $8,000 or $10,000. And we have to audit that every year. And that's coming up. We have to audit, we have to count that in front of another police agency's person. We go through the whole thing, we count all the money. And then the drugs are not, even though we keep them separate, they're in these sealed bins because the drugs smell so bad. So we have those in separate bins. The guns are we have 3 full-size safes over there that are full of guns. And then ammo is in a separate, like a little pull-out safe that we have over there. But yeah, the ammo goes with the destruction. We actually burn that. Burning. If we seize a bunch of ammo, we're coming up on a destruction on this case from about 5 years ago, where a guy, I don't remember this in the news, that we arrested the guy that was going to kill his girlfriend, and he had made a bunch of bombs, and we stopped him. We got him, and he had about 15,000 rounds of ammo in his car, and we still have that out there. That's going to be destroyed. I would actually like to use it for training, but we can't. Ammo, it's OSP recommended, which we always go by there, is to destroy ammo. Some agencies use the ammo for
How do you
training.
destroy it? Burn it? You
It goes in the burn, just like this.
And the drugs go to burn?
Yep,
And there's no
It's-
aroma?
gone.
Okay.
And it goes up this big chimney. The chimney is like 300 feet tall. It's this huge thing, but I guess they call them scrubbers. They shoot some chemicals across so that when the ash and the smoke goes up, the only thing that comes out, I think, is just the heat from the furnace. That's great. It doesn't smell, nothing. It's weird, but it's kind of creepy to watch it. But because it's amazing how fast something 25, I think it's 2,600 degrees, how fast something will burn.
Just incinerates.
Just gone, nothing left. So yeah, so that's how the evidence destruction works. This next item I'm kind of rankled about, and Chris and I are both rankled. CIS is city county insurance. They've now started doing this thing called these best practice review, which sounds great. Chelsea just went through it for the city, and my scheduled interview is next on the 20th, and I'm not happy about it because they're nice people, but it's like such a duplication of the accreditation process. I have to fill out this, I'm not kidding you, it's probably 40 or 50 page questionnaire, and then these 2 electronic forms that they've sent that I have to fill out. And so when he came and met with me, I'm just telling you this because I'm peeled about it. I said, because we have invited him numerous times to accreditation, because I'm on the board, you know, I'm the board chair of the Accreditation Alliance. And the Accreditation Alliance, the data that we collect is so much better and more improvable. They've asked me for all this stuff. I can just make it all up, to be quite frank. I mean, I could write a bunch of memos and say, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. Lie your way through it. I mean, I'm not saying anybody would ever do that, but the accreditation process, the beauty of it all, and I've talked about this ad nauseum to you guys, is that we have to prove it. The accreditation process is based on proofs, proving that you're doing something right, which is not easy sometimes, but by police reports, photographs, audio and videotapes of different things we're doing as part of our job to prove that we're meeting these standards. Whereas this review is basically a duplication of a bunch of documents I've already put in the system for accreditation, and an interview, and then all these documents like our hiring practice. They want copies of like all of our advertising, our scoring sheets from our interviews. Well, that's already all loaded in the Power DMS accreditation program. So I told the guy, I said, hey, this is days of work for me, probably 3 or 4 full days, which I'm going to start tomorrow. And I would much rather just give you my login. I'll give you the login to my whole system. You can look at every one of these. Not only can you look at it, but you can see the proofs, and they won't do it. So I went to Chris and the attorney that helps the city, not the city attorney, but the guy that does the negotiations.
Oh, that guy, he's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And he was like, no way, but I got to do it because this is actually how they set the insurance rate.
Oh,
So I'm tweaked because it's way too much work for what I'm going to get out of it. Whereas I want to ask a guy, okay, if I say no, what's my insurance rate going to be? And if I say yes, tell me the difference, but they won't. So I don't want to do it. So I've talked to Chris, and he's going to call, and we'll see what happens, but I'm PO'd about it. No, it's just like they've come up with this. We've invited them for years to come to meetings, the accreditation meetings, the board meetings. Like one guy who's pretty new came to the Seaside meeting in, I think November of last year. And he asked us a lot of questions about our process. And he was accredited when he's from Mesa, Arizona, this guy. And they were accredited. So he knew. And then we're all like, hey, we want to be able to tell our accredited agencies that they get a discount. And for years, oh yeah, we'll work that out. We'll give you 5 or 10% discount. They've never done it. And this is bad because this is an insurance company that insures all these cities. And if they're doing a best practices review, I guess their point is they want to make sure that liability, they're reducing liability, right? And risk. Well, accreditation, that's what it's for.
yeah.
And every other state that we know of, the state insurance like SAFE and these different groups give discounts to agencies that are accredited. So they should, because we do a good job and we can prove it.
You know, I wonder who the underwriting insurer.
I don't know.
or
That's good.
reinsurer is.
That's a good question.
I'll find.
Yeah, find out for me. City, county insurance.
Yeah, I know who
CIS.
they are, but there's someone else involved.
Yeah, oh yes, you're right. So that's next Wednesday. I'm chafed. So I'm going to start tomorrow pulling the documents that they want. I'm still going to talk to Chris about it. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to drag my feet a little bit, but so that's going on next week. So I wanted to let you guys know. I mean, we'll pass it with, I looked at the list. We do it all 5 times over, and we've done it all. We just finished. What's funny is we just finished the 3-year full review on the accreditation. So it's the perfect time. The guy could go in there and see everything we've done and all the documents. And there's a whole section on pursuits and use of force. Well, I've got all that in there. There's police reports in there. There's all of our use of force reports are all in there. Everything. All he would have to do is just, oh yeah, there it is. Check. I hate bureaucracy. And you know this because I just can't stand doing things just
Wasting your
to
time.
do it,
Yeah.
doing things for the purpose
Busy
of
work.
doing it. It's just, that's wrong. I don't think it's good for, I don't think it's It's a waste of city time and effort and money and
Yes.
what you guys pay me to do. So anyway, any questions on that? I just wanted to let you guys know I'm doing it.
It would not be at all realistic if there's too many pages to print off what you're saying.
Oh, I
your
could send you guys, I could
No,
send,
I don't want it.
no,
I'm just saying, could you print it off and give it to them and say, here?
no, you mean like, no,
Yeah.
that's like
Too much, yeah.
thousands of documents,
Okay.
thousands of pages. That's why I wanted them to look at it because the accreditation process is a 3-year long what's the word, amalgamation of all these documents as we go, because you do it as you go.
Mhm.
So we're talking about every year I have to do use of force reviews, I have to do pursuit reviews, I have to do all the things, and we take those documents and put them in the system. And not only that, we do year-end reviews of all those things and write memos and saying we reviewed all these things and our policy manuals in there. So it's all connected in the Power DMS program, which is great. And here, look, take a look. Or better yet, what we want it to do from the board view is when an agency that's being insured by CIS is finished and been awarded accreditation, we should send their insurance agency the report.
Mhm.
It's a 20-page report
Yeah.
that says all the things they've done,
Yeah, yeah.
everything they've done right, everything that maybe there's some deficiencies that they're working on, but here they are. Here,
Yeah.
open book, transparency.
Yeah.
That's what we all want. And you would think that would be great for an insurance company because accredited agencies, he'll tell you, don't get sued like non-accredited agencies because we can prove that our processes are done right.
Yeah.
So we're a low risk enterprise for them. And when the accreditation program, you would think they'd latch on.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
You've trained Dave on all of this?
Oh, he's been all in.
Good.
Yeah, he
It's
has to
not
help.
a
I can't do it all
quick-
myself. And
No.
it's a lot of work, but it's worth it, in my opinion. I've talked to nauseam about it. Okay, that's it. I'm done with my stuff. You want to talk about drones before I walk? You guys want to see the new?
Yeah.
Our new
Do.
toy? It's not a toy. So I'll tell you all about that in a minute, but talk about drones. What do you want to know?
Well, I want to know what recourse a citizen has. I mean, what this woman, what happened to her is she and her boyfriend are sitting out on their deck one morning and this drone comes over and just hovers
Oh, boy.
for minutes, which is not good.
No.
It's bothersome, yeah.
And so the question is, what recourse does a citizen have, if any?
It's a weird, so drones, so that is actually you're just basically, I won't use the official legal term, but that's disturbing the peace. That's like, if you're alarming somebody with your actions, flying a drone, it would be just like causing a disturbance in a store. It's the same law. It's a misdemeanor. However, I'm sure if the other city council members brought this up, to fly a drone around outside of your direct airspace, like for fun and entertainment, you have to have an FAA approval to do that. And there is a lot of there's some serious fines for just flying a drone around without getting a permit.
Oh, really?
Mhm. Yes.
Huh.
Yep. Like you see these ones, I don't know if you're a baseball fanatic, so,
Mhm.
or sport. So every once in a while, a Major League Baseball game will get stopped because there's a drone. And when the security at the football game or baseball game, they do this and they can tell by the signal that the drone is putting out if a person has registered that drone. And if it hasn't,
Really?
yes. And if it hasn't, then they try to follow the drone and find it because it's that's actually an arrestable charge, flying over an event like that.
Huh.
And my understanding is people do get arrested pretty regularly for flying drones over like football games and stuff, college football games and pro games. I can't remember we had a drone thing maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Somebody was flying a drone around. I can't remember the last time somebody's actually called us with a drone situation. I thought it'd be like a major deal when they first came out, that we'd be getting calls all the time. And we just don't.
Really?
Yeah.
What about privacy? I mean. if
Well, you
they're
gotta remember
invading
privacy, that there's no criminal offense. A lot of people think privacy's got, because
Well,
it's
they're
a
videotaping them on their porch.
I know,
isn't
but there's
that-
to prove that, you can't assume that they are. So you'd have to have somebody have proof
Grab
that
phone.
that drone is videotaping you and they're storing it somewhere. And for you can't assume it. Although we all know that people do take video. A lot of people watch the video live when they're flying it, but are they storing it, and they're using that video to violate your whatever your personal privacy? Most privacy is not a state crime. It's a federal offense, and it's more of a civil offense than it is a criminal offense. So it's taking somebody's privacy away. You can't just arrest somebody for that. It's not a crime, a state crime. I can't,
Well,
like if I'm looking over your fence, just watching you sunbathe, that's not a privacy crime. That's a disturbing the peace crime. The privacy part is all federal, and it's so below the scope of somebody doing an investigation on that nobody ever would. They don't have the people to like send the FBI out to arrest somebody for looking over your fence or whatever. So it's such a low bar crime. Most
So
cities
these
have.
people, can they get you? Is there anything you can do, or they just have to deal with it?
Well, it's like the barking dog. Here's just the reality of it all is if they called us, we would come. But the chances of us getting out there, and let's say this would show up out there in 5 minutes, that the person has left, pulled the drone away, and we don't know. Now, if the person knows who it is, that's a whole different ballgame. We can disorderly conduct is the law, which is causing alarm in others. By state, remember I've talked to you more than you. You might know this because you're kids. So you got your state law and your city laws that are written down. That's called statutory law. That's how the law is written. A burglary is XYZ. Here's what a burglary is. But most of the laws that we deal with are case law based on that. So judges have made decisions over hundreds of years, literally, and have changed what we can make an arrest for under that. We need certain criteria to make an arrest. For instance, the one I used recently, which is I think a funny example, is kidnapping. So when you think of kidnapping, you think of what you see on TV. There's this girl walking down the street, this guy in a van pulls up, the door slides open, they put something over her head, pull him in, kidnapping, and then we call up, we get a ransom. Well, that's really so rare. I mean, we're talking under 10 a year, probably nationwide. What kidnapping actually is in state statute is that's federal kidnapping. That's a federal statute, taking somebody against their will somewhere else. But what real kidnapping is keeping somebody from doing what they want in their freedom of their life. So what we used to charge people on in kidnapping is a guy goes into a store to rob it. Well, when you rob let's say a liquor store, you commit about 6 or 7 crimes. You walked in a public place with let's say it's an armed robbery with a gun. So you got the gun crime. You've entered the doors of that liquor store knowing you commit a crime. So you commit burglary. Burglary is entering a business or a residence with the intent to commit a crime therein. So you commit burglary. So you're also committing menacing, which is pointing a gun at somebody and to the point where they're in fear for their safety. So you got another felony. So you got these different crimes. You also have kidnapping, right? Because the person can't leave.
Yeah.
So you're saying, give me your money. Well, the person can't leave. Kidnapping.
Or the other customers.
Well, the other customer, or if they take the customers, like a lot of people do, and they put them in a freezer or something, that's kidnapping, even though it's not what you think of kidnapping. So why do we start talking about this? What was your,
the drone.
yeah, the drones. So that's the case law of this all is what the crime says, taking, not allowing somebody to move freely. Over the years, that what you can arrest somebody for kidnapping has changed based on just society. So those examples I just gave you are what real kidnapping is, but you think of it as somebody get thrown in a van and taken to a safe house. That's really not, that's the federal version. So that's the TV version, right? So privacy laws are like this weird, since I've been at Philomath PD, we have not arrested anybody for anything like a privacy related event.
Okay.
I mean, it's just such a rare, I mean, I can think of a couple examples of where it might come into play, like a neighbor kind of a thing, somebody spying on somebody, or somebody, we've had a case where somebody put a cell phone with a camera on in somebody's house, friend that they knew. Okay, so that, but so if I did that, I just gave you my thing, what crime would I be committing? Other,
Trespassing.
how
Because
how about, how about burglary?
Okay,
So if I went into your
So
house
you went in with the intent to leave.
to set the
phone.
phone in, let's say in your bathroom, because I want to see you get out of the shower, put the phone in there. I've gone into the house, I've entered the house knowing I'm going to commit this crime of taking this video of you. So you could charge somebody with burglary.
But now,
That's a felony. So you would want to, the privacy part of the capturing of the video is one crime. But if you're going to use it for whatever, I wouldn't want to go into those details, but the mere fact of setting up the camera, that we would be arresting people for that, because that's a one that you can prove so much easier than what you would use the video for.
so let's go back to the drone
Okay.
for a minute.
Yeah.
So she actually took,
Does she live in the city limit?
yes,
Okay.
she took images of it on her phone.
She took a picture of the drone.
Yes.
Okay.
And my question would be, could you use those images to identify it? No. Or, because you said it,
Unless it was so unique that by the picture of the drone, it would be like this particular kind of drone that only 3 people in the whole state of
Oh.
Oregon. You would have to, drones you can buy on Amazon for 50
Yeah.
bucks. Is it a really nice one? I mean, like a professional drone, like a big one? Like,
well,
I
I don't know how big.
mean, she could come in and show the guys. But flying the drone over somebody's house in and of itself, unless the person that had the drone's brother came to us and said, my brother is a pervert and he's flying drones over people's houses. So you had an informant that was telling you about this, and he takes the video and he shares it around with friends from his home computer. So that's enough information that we would be able to write a search warrant for, right?
Oh, okay.
To go look at see what he's doing. But this one, from the other view of it, which is the user end, I saw this drone. I don't know who's flying it. I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't know if the camera is live. I don't know if they're taking video and storing it. I don't know if they're sharing it. I don't know what the purpose. It's just a nuisance.
But you mentioned that they emit a signal.
Yes.
So how can you identify?
Well,
that
you can only do the signal, ask for the signal if it's going over if there's a potential terrorism part of it, flying over a big event with a lot of people where you can
signal?
drop a bomb out of it. Because if you've ever watched, I don't know if you guys see them, we see them all the time from the police side, that's what they're doing in Kosovo. I mean, in the
Oh,
Russia,
yeah.
they're using drones all over the place to drop these water bottles full of explosives on troops. That's today's warfare. But if
but if they saw the guy down the street with the drone, they could call the police and you could at least go talk to the guy.
yeah, find out what they're doing and
That's
maybe
safe.
see if they would tell us what they're doing. Are you videotaping, or where's your computer? A lot of people drive drones off of these.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know anything about drones. How far can it get away from you?
All depends on, that's where the cost comes in.
Oh,
So like when we had the guy fly all of our schools, that was a professional computer. You just take the drone out. It's this huge, like $10,000 drone. It's got cameras on it. It basically does a grid. It's in a computer program that you say, I want to fly over this school and I want you to take pictures of this whole piece of property. And it goes and it flies. And you just watch it. It's basically just taking the swath of pictures.
mhm.
You got all the way from that to the $50 drone you can buy at Bimart. I
Yeah,
mean, they have those. I mean, you can go to Bimart right now and buy a $50 drone that you actually put your cell phone, snap it in and fly around, and it takes the video out of your cell phone. I bought my dad one.
but what kind of range does the?
Very little. Those are like what they call line of sight drones.
Oh,
Those, you have to see them.
Christopher.
Mhm.
um,
Oh, he's a,
Before, yeah, he's got one.
yeah.
Because he's on my parents' farm and it goes a long way.
Yes.
I mean, it's a nicer one, but it's,
Noah Lochner, the guy that used to work for me, he was big time into drones, and he had like a $2,000, $1,500, $2,000 drone. And I think it could get like a quarter mile away
okay,
from where he sat.
okay.
But he had to wear
And
he had to wear the things. And if it got too far, you would just lose it. It would just go and crash. So you have to keep it in this range. Those are all, like he was registered with the FAA. Those are ones, those long-term ones, those long range ones, you have to register those.
Oh, that's interesting.
If
So
you get on and just Google drone registration in Oregon, we've pointed, people have come in and say, I got this drone, I want to do this and that, I want to go, fly over. You can't fly. There's all these rules about, you can't use it for hunting. But I think you can scout with them, I think, where you can pre-hunting season, you can fly around and see where like herds are. And I know private companies use them all over for all kinds of stuff, for all different kind of security things. And I know the timber companies use them, so they can actually survey land.
Yeah.
And they have infrared on them that they can say, okay, there's not enough water in this area over here. We need to get water down into these trees because they can tell by the colors of the infrared images and stuff. It's pretty crazy. But I know those, I don't know what the distance is, but I know, so if they're out of sight, you generally have to get a permit from FAA to fly them.
Because if it's really, I mean, if it would be unusual to be more than a quarter of a mile,
That's a long ways.
then it probably wouldn't be that hard to figure out who's who is.
Yeah. But you have to have the threat of the federal side of it. The whole purpose of putting the federal controls over it was for the word about terrorism.
Yeah.
And flying it over like OSU's football stadium and drop, even if it's something innocuous where you panic people. Think about it. If you're at the football game,
Yeah,
somebody drops one of these with some red dye in it, just on the field, and people would freak and they'd stampede out of there and kill a bunch of people. So that's why you can't get anywhere near those kind of, you can't fly over highways. You can't fly it over, because this is a highway. You can't fly it over Main Street. You can't fly it over parades. You can't fly it over any kind of, there's a bunch of rules about it.
mhm.
I would watch the direction it's going, and often it will go out and then come back to the person. So if you're
You
watching
could probably
long
figure it out.
enough,
Have it happened more than once?
I think it's only happened once.
You could
But
shoot
I'll
it.
talk to her. No, Matt
But
said that was good for the drone owner because they could get a ton of money out of
Mhm.
it.
Yep. All right, that's what I know about. I don't know a ton about them other than just the briefings we've got. I know the county has a drone. We've used it for taking aerial photographs of crime scenes and stuff like that. They're really amazing. But the ones that they have are like $5,000-$10,000 drones. We're talking super expensive. And I know they have to register them. Because I think if they go a certain height, they have to be, because you can get in the way
that's
of a
what
small
Matt was
plane.
talking about. He
Yep.
was talking about the height and that it's national
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
airspace.
So many
Airspace.
feet above the tallest building.
Yep. And if you're in a city like in Corvallis, the height of the buildings matter.
Yeah,
The highest building, which would be the courthouse. I can't remember how many feet, can't be over a certain amount of feet.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
All right, then when
You
we,
guys want to go look at our
Yes.
new thing? Let me
Yes.
tell you about it real quick and then we'll go over there. Oh,
Who gets credit?
whoever needs to drive it. I'll put this, we're gonna end the meeting. Is that
yes,
okay?
we'll adjourn the
We'll
meeting.
adjourn the meeting at 3 minutes till 5.
Yes.
I'm gonna hit the button.